All right, let's dive into Greg McKeown's Essentialism. This is a philosophy for anyone out there who feels totally spread thin. You know, that feeling of being constantly busy but not really productive? If you've ever felt overworked and just plain overwhelmed, this one's for you. So, here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at why we get stuck in this trap of chasing more. Then we'll walk through the 3 steps to get out, figuring out what's essential, getting rid of what's not, and then actually doing what matters. Think of it as our roadmap from total chaos to real clarity. So let's kick things off with a feeling that I think we all know a little too well, that constant nagging pursuit of more. I mean, does this sound familiar? Your calendar is packed, you're juggling a million different things, and you get to the end of the day completely exhausted. But you look back and think, what did I actually get done today? That right there is the trap. You're moving a mile in a million different directions, but you're not making any real progress where it counts. This gets to the heart of a really weird paradox. You'd think success would make life easier, right? But actually, it does the opposite. It brings more opportunities, more requests, more noise, and pretty soon you're in what the book calls the undisciplined pursuit of more. Your focus gets scattered, and the very success you worked for becomes the thing that trips you up. Let's take the story of a guy named Eric. His number one goal, his essential thing, is to build an app. But what does he do instead? He organizes his office. He builds custom shelves. He even starts a YouTube channel. All of those things feel productive, don't they? But they're not getting him any closer to building that app. They are just non-essential distractions dressed up as work. And it all comes down to these 2 mindsets. On one side, you've got the non-essentialist. They think, I have to do it all, and end up living life by default, just reacting to whatever comes their way. But then you have the essentialist. They actually pause and ask, what's the right thing to do? And then they intentionally design their life around that answer. So why do we get stuck in this trap? Well, one reason is this psychological quirk called learned helplessness. It was famously shown in a study with dogs. One dog learned that nothing it did could stop a negative outcome, so it just gave up. It accepted the bad situation even when it had a clear way to escape. And we do the same thing. Think about a terrible job or even just scrolling endlessly on social media. We can get conditioned to feel like we don't have a choice, and we totally forget that we have the power to say yes or no. So how do we break out of this cycle? Well, it all starts with the very first step of the essentialist system, actually taking the time to explore what truly matters. The antidote to feeling constantly overwhelmed is this simple 3-part system. And it all begins with step 1, explore. See, before you can start cutting things out, you have to create enough space to figure out what's actually important, to separate what the book calls the vital few from the trivial many. You know, essentialists get that creating space isn't some luxury. It's absolutely necessary. Just think about Bill Gates and his famous Think Weeks, where he'd just go off and read. Or sleep, it's not being lazy, it's a tool for making good decisions. And play isn't silly, it sparks creativity. This is how you find the signal in all the noise. Here's a great way to think about the mental shift you have to make. Imagine cleaning out your closet. A non-essentialist looks at an old t-shirt and asks, might I wear this someday? And the answer's always a weak maybe. But an essentialist asks a much tougher question. Do I absolutely love this? The filter gets so much stricter. Now, just imagine applying that same filter to every single opportunity that comes your way. As you're exploring, this is the sweet spot you're looking for. The goal isn't just to find a bunch of things you're good at. It's to find that one thing that lives at the intersection of what you absolutely love, what you're uniquely good at, and what the world really needs from you. Okay, so once you've figured out what's truly essential, the next step, and let's be honest, often the hardest step, is to start eliminating everything else. And that brings us right to step 2, eliminate. This is where the real work begins, because man, it takes some serious courage to say no. This is one of the most powerful rules in the whole book. So many opportunities that come our way are fine, they're a 6 or a 7 out of 10, they're good. An essentialist has the guts to say no to all the good stuff, to make room for the truly great stuff. The rule is dead simple. If it's not a clear hell yes, then it's a clear no. And here's a super practical tool for this, the 90% rule. When you're looking at a choice, pick the single most important criterion. Let's say you're hiring someone, and your number one thing is problem-solving skills. You score them from 0 to 100. If they score an 89, you don't just pass. You treat it like a 0 and you move on. It is a brutally effective way to stop committing to things that are just good enough. And hey, this isn't just theory, this is real-world strategy. Southwest Airlines became a giant by saying no to things like assigned seats and first-class cabins, which allowed them to say a huge yes to low costs. Warren Buffett is famous for saying no to 99 out of 100 opportunities because he knows the real money isn't just a tiny few. For them, saying no is a strategic weapon. Now, one of the biggest things that stops us from eliminating stuff is the sunk cost bias. It's that little voice in your head that says, but I've already put so much time into this. An essentialist learns to ignore that voice and ask a better question. Forgetting everything I've already invested, what is the best use of my time from this point forward? All right, so once you've cleared away all the clutter, it's time for the final piece, building a system so you can flawlessly execute on the few things that really, truly matter. After all that exploring and eliminating, we finally arrive at the last step, execute. And the goal here is pretty simple. You want to design a system that makes doing the right thing the easiest thing. Execution is really about removing friction. It means adding a 50% buffer to how long you think things will take, because let's face it, stuff always goes wrong. It means focusing on small, steady wins, because progress is the most powerful motivator there is. It's about building routines that put your essential tasks on autopilot, saving your brain power. And it's about constantly asking yourself, what's important now, or when, to stay on track. So when you bring all three of these steps together, explore, eliminate, and execute, the result is this massive shift. You go from a life of more to a life of less, but better. It doesn't just change what you do, it changes who you are. And really, this is the ultimate goal. Essentialism is all about moving from a life that's lived by default, where you're just reacting to everyone else's priorities, to a life that you live by design. It's about taking back control and choosing to put your energy into the things that truly matter. So I'll leave you with a question. I want you to look at your calendar, look at your to-do list for this week. What is the one no you can say that will create the space for a much more important yes? Because finding that one thing and actually acting on it, that could be the start of everything.